Welcome back everyone to another video. So this one is going to be very different. In the spirit of Halloween, I thought that I would try a whole different type of content here. Just a one-off though maybe, but we'll see how this goes. So today, I'm going to be going over some very scary, true horror stories, okay? Now this is not for the faint-hearted, this will be a bit intense, so I am going to warn you right away. Click away if you don't have what it takes to survive! No, sorry. This will be pretty serious. One story in particular is a little bit brutal, so yeah. But it is Halloween, so happy Halloween everyone. I hope you've had an amazing day. If you're young enough to be trick-or-treating, stay safe out there, because you never know who is just waiting to pounce. Alright, let's get on with things here. I was about 4 or 5 years old and my parents had just separated. My mom was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I preferred to sleep in her bed whenever I was staying with her. Our 2 bedrooms were at the end of a hallway, directly across from each other. Our apartment was on the first floor, and I remember that it was in the middle of the summer and my mom had the window open in her room, which was directly behind the bed, okay, above the headboard. Anyways, I woke up in the middle of the night and remember sitting up and seeing that our cat was sitting in the doorframe of my mom's room. Her door was open and you could partially see into my bedroom, by the way. This was strange because our cat was typically always in bed with us. As I was watching him, he walked into my bedroom and meowed. I turned to face my mom and wake her up. In the 3/4 seconds that it took her to wake up and ask me what was wrong, we both looked back up in the doorframe and there was a man standing by my open door, making his way out of my bedroom. I still don't know how she managed to do it so quickly, but my mother proceeded to pick me up and literally throw me out the screen window. Again, we were on the first floor and it was maybe a 3-foot drop to the ground. She quickly followed and we were able to start screaming for help and someone called 911. The police came, but didn't see any signs of forced entry. Only that our front door was unlocked, which led them to believe that the man must have exited that way. The strange thing was that my mum swore up and down that she had locked the door that night, with the deadbolt and the chain lock. About a week later, she was cleaning the kitchen and opened up our water heater closet and found a notebook with names and drawings, as well as a pair of gloves and some chewing gum wrappers. The police were called again, but all they could do was speculate that the man had been in our house and hid until we were asleep. Edit. Just to clarify, our apartment was on the ground level, so my mother didn't hurl me into potential paralysis. Just a 3-ish foot drop to the grass. A terrifying but true story I experienced when I was 12. I moved to my dad's when I was 10 and didn't know anyone in the area, except for the family my dad was friends with. Single mom with 3 kids. Luckily there was a girl a couple of years older than me, 12 at the time that I met her, and we got to know each other a little over a couple of years. We weren't close, but ended up having the same friends. One night my friend Rob was hanging out with her and her younger brother. They happened to be in the house alone because my friend's mom was at work, which is where this gets terrifying and sad. Her mother has been helping this one lady through her work and got to know her fairly well. She found out her sister was in a mental institution and was recently let out. The night Rob is hanging out with my friend, they get a knock on the door. My friend thought it was just their mum. She knocks a certain way when coming in, by the way, and they answered it without thinking. Rob wasn't supposed to be there, and he took off through the window to his house down the road. He never thought twice about it. So it wasn't her mum. It was the sister of the lady her mum was helping. And she figured out through talking to her sister where her family lived and her mum's working schedule. She came in, and this is where I don't know many details about, and I'm glad I don't, My friend's younger brother got away to the neighbours to call the police. The lady brutally murdered my friend a week from Christmas, decapitated her, and left her body naked in a bathtub. Her head was missing. They had to look through the presents, and I don't know where they found it, but they eventually did. I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral. God damn. I was sitting in my room after getting out of work on the second floor. My little bro is downstairs watching TV, and the dog is in the hallway outside of my door sleeping. All of a sudden, the dog starts making all kinds of racket, jumping around, barking, clacking nails, howling. I go to get up to see what's up, and I hear, "Oh, that's a good girl," in a male voice. And it didn't sound like little bro to me, so I go, "Oh, you're home early," thinking that it's my dad's friend, or our roomie, as I open the door. As soon as I'm out there, there's no one at all but the dog wagging her tail, staring up at the empty end of the hallway. My little bro comes upstairs to yell at me for getting his dog riled up. He said he heard the same voice, thinking that it was me or our roommate. We looked all over the house with my butterfly knife and his BB gun, and there was nobody. This still gives me the spooks to this day. A few years ago, I was home alone at night time. I was watching TV in the living room when I heard the doorbell ring. Whenever I hear the doorbell ring, especially when I'm home alone at night, I am very cautious to answer it. I walk up to the people without turning on the porch light, so they don't know if anyone is actually home or not, and I look through. It's really dark, but I can see a small figure, more like black blob, I don't know its definite shape, and it had to be around 3 to 4 feet, doing a dancing motion, dipping down and osculating its arms outwards. Think of a person moving their arms like wings gracefully. It was dark outside, but this figure was more opaque, so I could see what was going on. After a few seconds, I stopped looking through the people because it was too freaky to look at. I regained some courage and looked back through, and whatever it was gone. To this day, I still don't know what that was, and I get freaked out even thinking about it. Okay, this is 100% true, even though most people I tell this story to in real life don't believe me. When I was really little, my parents would let me stay up late on the weekends and watch TV until I fell asleep. I really loved these times, and I would stay up later than anybody else just because I could. Well, one night I was almost asleep on the couch when I heard a noise on our front porch. It was the sound of our old-fashioned porch swing moving back and forth. I was a little scared, so I crept towards the bay windows of my living room and peeked out towards the porch. Sitting on my front porch swing was an older woman, probably in her 50s, wearing nothing but a nightgown covered in blood and holding a huge kitchen knife. I flipped out immediately and ran screaming into my parents' room, but was too terrified to form any words. My parents saw that I was upset, but when I finally was able to tell them what I saw, my dad got really angry and told me that it was just a dream and to go back to bed. I refused and kept crying and screaming until he had enough and snatched my arm. He dragged me towards the front door to prove that nothing was there. I kicked and screamed all the way, trying to make him stop, but he kept pulling me. Finally, we got to the door, he unlocked it, swung it open, and said, "See, there's nothing." To this day, I have never seen the look of fear and shock that was on his face when that woman turned and stared at both of us and slowly stood up with the knife. My dad slammed the door shut and got my mum to call the police while he went and got his gun. He went back to the door with a 12 gauge and cracked the door enough to stick the barrel out. He asked her what she was doing, and she said, "Somebody killed my husband, but it wasn't me." My dad told her that the police were coming, and she freaked out, grabbed a knife and walked away. The police found her 15 minutes later, trying to break into one of our neighbours' houses. I never slept in the living room ever again. Edit. Oh yeah, I forgot that after she left, my dad called and warned my crazy uncle who lived next door what was happening, Apparently he was waiting on his front porch with his shotgun when she walked by. He pointed it at her and just said, "Keep moving, bitch!" Update. I just talked to my mum and she said that she never really found out the whole story. But apparently the woman was crazy and off her medication. Her and her husband got into a fight and she tried to attack him with a knife, but didn't seriously hurt him. When he got her out of the house, she cut herself with a knife, either trying to commit suicide or to make it look like her husband did it. The police never talked to us about it, so that's just what they heard from the woman's neighbours. My wife and I bought our first house in February of 2010. We immediately fell in love with it as soon as we laid eyes on it. It had everything we ever wanted, plus a few bonuses. For the first month, everything was great. Lots of painting and decorating, getting it just the way we wanted. Then weird things started to randomly happen. First it was small things, like things upstairs being moved, things being moved to completely different rooms than where they belonged. I chalked it up to my wife just forgetting to put things back where they belonged. The house also started to creak pretty loudly. This is a fairly new house, so I just figured it was probably settling, as most new houses tend to do. One day, the wife and I were preparing dinner in the kitchen. Our stairs sit right next to the kitchen entrance, so any noises upstairs were clearly audible into the kitchen. I turned off the water at the sink, and as soon as I did, we both heard a cough. I quickly grabbed the sharpest knife I could find while my wife called the police. I walked to the bottom of the stairs and stood silently, and I heard a loud pop or creak, just like the ones I had always heard the house make. My hands were shaking and my wife was whispering to the 911 operator, telling them, "We think we may have a robber in our home." The police arrived in minutes. Thankfully they had been patrolling nearby. The officer walks slowly up the stairs, gun drawn. He calls out, "This is the police! Is anyone upstairs?" No response. I'm right behind him, walking up the stairs. We look into the first bedroom and closet. Empty. No one in the half bath either. What the fuck is a half bath? The last room is my office where I have my PC. No one in the room or the closet. I felt the tension ease away and felt like a complete tool, making this officer search the house only to find nothing. We turned to walk out of the room and right above us, creak. I just about shat bricks. In my office closet, there is an attic access. The officer pulls a step down and again calls out, "Is anyone up there? This is the police!" No response. He turns on his flashlight and peeks his head up. He finds a man in his 40s kneeling there in the attic, looking dead at him. Gun drawn, he tells the man to come out and put his hands behind his head. They arrest the man. He didn't say a word the whole time and would not look anyone in the eye. He was scruffy looking and had dirty clothes on. Me and my wife were freaking out. I don't think either of us have fully gotten over it. After questioning the man in the police station, we found out that he was a homeless man who found refuge in the house while it was still on the market. He said the doors were unlocked and so he stayed there. Apparently a realtor must have forgotten to lock the door after showing someone the house. He said that when people would come to the house, he would hide in the second floor attic. We bought the house and this guy was living in it for a whole month without us even knowing. It really freaks me out still just thinking about it. Never shrug off all those bumps you hear in the night because you could have a homeless man living in your attic. Doodle-doo! Okay, so that is it for the stories. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. I think I did a pretty alright job with the narration. Obviously this isn't my forte, this isn't my style, but it's something different, something scary for Halloween, and if it was enjoyable then maybe it is something I can do again. Alright, thank you very much. Drop a like if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. Thank you all for watching. Well, thank you all for listening actually. Yeah, that's a different one. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to my narration, and I'll see you in the next one.